Hello and welcome to the podcast. Today we are going to go through a step-by-step prep checklist for any big transformational leaps that you're taking, maybe a retreat, ceremonies, pilgrimages. We'll go over some trauma-aware tips to stay safe and regulated before, during, and after plant medicine work. And we're also going to give some practical ways to weave insights back into daily life so that breakthroughs actually stick. Today, I am with Jenny DeFaria. Jenny is a healing practitioner devoted to the art of transformation. With roots in behavioral science and formal training in naturopathy, Jenny brings the worlds of science and soul to guide others into deeper alignment with their innate vitality. Her path into healing began with a personal health crisis that opened the door to a more holistic, soul-led way of living. Certified in naturopathy and transformational coaching and informed by internal family systems and trauma-aware practices, Jenny helps people prepare for and integrate transformational experiences, especially those involving plant medicines. She also designs sacred journeys through transformational travel, offering clients the opportunity to reconnect with themselves and the world in profound ways. Jenny does this work in loving partnership with her wife, Glenda, blending their gifts to support healing in individuals and communities. Whether through coaching, preparing for, or integrating ceremony or soul-centered travel, their work is rooted in one intention: to help people cultivate the inner soil from which their fullest life can naturally bloom. For them, healing is more than a profession. It's a sacred calling and a joyful exchange of energy and light. Thank you, Jenny, for coming today.
Appreciate you having me.
So happy to have you. Yeah. And we will just dive right in because the stuff goes real deep, real fast.
Love it.
So, and I have a list of questions, but if the energy takes us somewhere else, we'll flow. Yeah. Okay, so my first question is, take us to the moment your own health crisis cracked open a new path. What belief died and what was born?
Oh, how far back should I go? How much time do you have? So I would say that it took half a lifetime to cultivate the soil from which my breakdown happened. So I would say there wasn't necessarily one crisis. There were many small crises along the way. And there was, of course, a straw that broke the camel's back. And I won't go into a lot of detail about exactly what happened, but I think we all have the commonality of being raised in a traumatic-inducing culture, societally, familially, and wherever you turn, we're taught how to suppress ourselves, to suppress our beautiful magic, our femininity. And so after a lifetime of that, and then some small t and big T traumas along the way, it was just a collapse that was probably expected. So it happened in my late 20s, and I think I was 27 or 28, and my world just fell apart. And from that, I kind of slashed through breakdown, and now it's breakthrough, because it was the beginning catalyst for me to really have enough suffering in my life to say, I have to change something. And then I began a decade and a half long journey of hacking through the wilderness with a machete, trying to figure out what's my path, what's my healing,
what's my
and I found some really beautiful paths. I'll say that if someone has the intention of healing, the path is less important. The most important thing is the intention to heal. And but I did find some parameters for healing along the way. And did I answer that question?
Okay. Yeah, no, that's beautiful. And I'm so happy for you that you found that path.
Thank you.
Yeah. How did your background in behavioral science shape the way you now view healing?
I would say it was very reductionist, but it gave a little bit of a foundation to me building the practice of going into my own psyche, of understanding what's underneath human behavior. I started taking, I was a psychology major, and I was just fascinated.
I was too, by the way.
There you go. Most healers are. We're just drawn to why does this work this way?
The mental models.
And so what it did was satiate my curiosity in how the human brain works and how behavior works. I would say I had to unlearn quite a bit of what I learned from my formal educational training in my first 10 years of my career. But also it gave me, I think, a good foundation to, like a good scientist, just ask why. Why do we act the way that we do? I now know that behavior is not as simple as A plus B equals C.
For sure.
And so now there's all letters and all numbers and all sequences. But there's commonality in it too. And so what I learned a reductionist way to look for the commonality, but then also I needed to widen my description of what does behavior really mean? How do we get here? And I learned to look underneath behavior. So not so much, let's look at the behavior and try to modify this, but to really go much deeper into why our behavior is even there in the first place.
And I'm going to go off script already, but why or when, I guess, did the behavioral and the psychology meet with the spirituality for you?
So I think I've always had an undercurrent of spirituality. I grew up as a pastor's child in a Baptist turned non-denominational church. So I was programmed to look for the spiritual in some healthy ways and some unhealthy ways. To not necessarily look for the spiritual, but look for religion. So I had to. That was some of my small T, maybe even big T traumas that I had to kind of.
I would go big T.
Wade through a little bit, But there was also a lot of beauty in it, a lot of community, a lot of, and it tilled the soil for looking for something bigger than myself, outside of myself.
For sure.
And it anchored me to the mystery and the mystical, which I still live by. So I would say that while I was treating them like they were two different places in my psyche, here's my spiritual life and here's my professional life, they started merging, I would say, in the beginning of my health crisis, and then really when I started using transformational experiences like plant medicines and things like that. Then it just there was no way to separate them.
Right.
I realized that they're the same.
Yeah.
So in my mind they were different, but they were always the same.
For sure. Okay. Did you have any one pivotal realization or one journey that made more difference than another, or anything that...
That's a great question. I would say the very first journey I ever had, I was using mushrooms for healing. And I think what it does, sometimes we make it a little bit more about the medicine than what's going on inside. And I think the medicine it's like we're living with a veil across of us, all across our psyche all the time. And again, our brain is a filtering mechanism. We can't perceive everything that's going on around us at one time. I mean, if we saw everything with our eyes, we'd be very overwhelmed. And so I think that these medicines and these transformational experiences through travel, through psychedelics, through deep meditation, worship, all that, I think what they do is they just put down the filter for a little bit.
For sure.
In a very powerful way. So I feel like the very first time I crossed over into that, not experiencing life with a veil, it's like everything I was taught and believed to be truth, it became real. It wasn't, having an experience with the creator, God, source, whatever you want to call it. Having that experience that wasn't like meeting a person, but just immersing into something bigger. It was almost like I zipped it back and went, ooh. So that was a catalyst. And then, journeys built on top of that, or travel built on top of that.
Okay.
But I would say the first time that happened, it clicked for me.
Yeah, because there was an opening.
There is something bigger than myself.
Yeah.
And I'm not even going to try to understand that with words.
Right.
It's ineffable.
Well,
and I can try to put my journeys into words or my experiences into words like we do, but there's just an element that can't be explained.
Right. And that's one of the omnis, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't remember which one, but
Many of them.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so now let's just talk like a little bit more specifics. Okay, so do you have a specific prep and integration model that you use for journeys, like either for yourself or?
I have parameters. So because some of these medicines are not legal, so what we do and what we've kind of dedicated our lives to until these become legal is to help people prepare their setting and integrate their experience. So while the experience, most people have to go, to a state where it's legal or a country where it's legal, or use something like ketamine. Ketamine is completely legal. Different medicine, but similar in nature in which you can experience from it. So it's all about there's no cookie cutter model, unfortunately. I wish we tried to look for one.
Every journey is going to be
it's so different, and every psyche is different. So there's a lot of intuition involved. There's a lot of sitting across from the person and seeing what jumps out at me or Glenda. Glenda is the most intuitive superpower I've ever met. So when we're doing work together, it's really fun to see what jumps out at both of us. So that tandem of us kind of having a team together. Yeah. And it's all about the readiness of the person, of their psyche. These medicines, experiences, even travel can be very profound, but they can also be very scary. And so to make sure the person has the anchor of themselves to pull on when times get rough, because inevitably in any of these experiences there's going to be a moment where it's rough.
Is there any grounding that needs to happen?
Absolutely. Lots of grounding. Depending on the person. I mean, some people just take off in the experience all in beauty, just like you get on a plane, you go over to Spain, and all of a sudden it's this, whoa. Some people are really frightened by that, and they have a hard time assimilating. So it's the same thing, taking any kind of journey. So lots of what we're looking for is, does this person have a connection to capital S self, which is, in the IFS format would be that essence of ourselves. Is this person very fragmented from trauma? We need to do a lot of groundwork. And when you approach it being trauma informed, the biggest red flag for me is when somebody comes to me and says, I don't have any trauma. I used to be that person coming to my therapist going, I don't have trauma. What are you talking about?
Yeah, there's some people who are
my
simply
childhood was perfect. Nobody's is, right? So if somebody's listening right now and I'm offending them because they don't have trauma, then we need to do some digging into what is trauma. And we've made this big, trauma. We've made it this thing that it's just part of life. It's part of one of the layers of life is experiencing loss, grief, suppressing parts of ourselves, exiling parts of ourselves to fit in.
Even, the smallest thing that we encounter, someone cutting us off in traffic. That's a trauma. Maybe it's a little T, but,
Well, depending on what you attach to it. So, like, somebody cuts me off in traffic, I don't care.
Right.
But
because you've done the work.
Let's say I have a history of people taking advantage of me and abusing me.
Yes.
Then it's just, so I wouldn't say someone cutting us off in traffic is traumatic.
Right.
I would say, if you have a long history of something that touches on, then it's adding.
Thank you for that clarification. Yes, that makes sense. Okay, so let's talk more about internal family systems. How does IFS and naturopathy complement each other when you guide clients?
When I was doing naturopathy was my first educational insert into the healing arts. Before that, I was working as a behavior scientist, mostly with children with autism. So after my healing crisis, I met a chiropractor who just opened my mind in a new way about food and supplementation and cracking my back, that I remember the very first time I ever had a period with no pain. And I was just like, this can happen? I just was told by every medical doctor, this is just being a woman. This is what it is. And I just remember, and something clicked in my mind, and my neurodivergency of deep diving, I just had to know more because I was experiencing something in my body that I didn't understand. And so, which has been all of the education I've had is something happened that I don't understand what this means.
And so we're going to investigate.
Exactly. So I would come into these situations where I would give somebody a plan, and I would say naturopathic plan, a way to eat for their thing, right? So no cookie cutter plans here. This is for sure for the person. This is what you're dealing with. This can help you. And then watching the way I struggled to adhere to that plan, or watching the way clients struggled to adhere to that plan, I began to see saboteurs, and I could never get past them. And then I'd have those people that just they followed the plan to the T, and they checked off the list, and they got somewhat better, but they weren't happy. they hit their health goals, but it wasn't equaling flourishing. And I was really baffled by this. Like, you've made this measurable goal that, wow, look at this, you lost the weight, or you poop every day, or and all of a sudden there's no change in their perception of how happy they are. So when I started, I accidentally fell into internal family systems. I was doing what's called shadow work. And I'd read this book,
all of our listeners will know what shadow work is.
Yeah, what shadow work is, yeah. I read this beautiful book called Feeding Your Demons, and it's this Buddhist practice of Cho, which is CHOD, but it has the 2 dots above the O. And so I began engaging with this work, like, wow, this is really cool, and noticing, and the premise of that is to kind of feel where you feel something in your body, put a color to it, see if an image pops up. And so I was going through this whole process just in my daily meditation. And about 3 months into this, I'm really feeling relief about things that I couldn't quite understand myself. Things I was angry at, a person I was projecting on, not realizing I was projecting on, that was the evil one, right? The bad one, the one that was hurting me.
Yeah, right.
And when I started realizing, oh my gosh, my anger is coming from a much younger time in my life, and this person is representing this, or this person is representing something about me that I don't like. So it's just this way to explore. So
you were doing IFS by yourself?
By myself,
to begin with? Wow.
Yeah, but then I didn't know it was IFS. So I was telling a friend about this, and of course I went through, and she said, Jenny, you really need to look into IFS. It sounds like, and I of course heard of IFS, but I did not do a deep dive yet. Yeah. And so I said, oh, really? This is what IFS is? That's so fascinating. So, of course, like I do, a deep dive, and then I go back to get my certificate being IFS informed. I'm not level 1 or 2, 3 certified. You have to be a mental health professional now to be certified. And they have a certification with coaches that they're doing, but the wait list is very long. So, so
which is a good thing.
It's a great thing. It's a great thing. They're putting some formality to it, and but being IFS informed means I can navigate with people's systems, but I have some boundaries around which I have to refer out to a professional, which I'm happy to do. I used to want to overstep. I used to be that one's like, I will be the one to help you, and now no. If someone's, if I intuitively feel we need a professional on board, I have a Rolodex of therapists that take insurance that. So when I went back to learn the model and understand, I then got my own IFS practitioner, and then I did that work for 2 years.
Okay. And were you still applying naturopathy to that, or?
Absolutely, yeah. That's still, naturopathy becomes so easy when people intuitively know what to eat, what not to eat, how to live when they work on their protection system.
Yeah, and I feel like the two really work together well, because when you are starting to feel into your body and you're starting to think about the food that you're taking in and how you feel after and all of that, it's just the same kind of, I don't know, it's just being complete and feeling into how things are making you feel. Same thing with tapping into your emotions, like how does that make me feel before, during, after, So it's kind
also
of like
to look at what's sabotaging your own health goals. So I was a binge eater for a very long time. And
I understand nothing about that as well.
I literally tried everything I do. Intermittent fasting. I do all these things. Therapy. And IFS was the first thing where I understood the parts of my system that were using food for comfort. I still let myself use food for comfort, but I do it consciously. And I don't eat as fast as I can, as much as I do. I just consciously say, you know what? I'm needing some comfort food right now. I might make my version of a grilled cheese sandwich or something that I can feel good about that does ring true to my comfort. Yeah,
but you're not doing it blindly.
Not doing it blindly. Yeah,
which is a definite difference.
For sure. Yeah.
It's almost
not even like not eating the foods. So let's say eating foods that we just all know are going to hurt us long term. What is that? What about our system is? It's not laziness. It's not sloth. It's not willpower. People are so much in shame about their eating habits. And I would come to say, if you give someone a quality IFS practitioner a year of your life, and you get underneath
focus on that,
you won't do it anymore. But you won't put any more effort. You're putting so much more effort trying not to binge eat than you would if you would just apply that effort,
do the work
to what's going on in your system.
Yeah.
I have this thing I say to people all the time, which is, if I were a fly on the wall in your brain your whole life, I'd understand everything.
Mm-hmm.
And we have that ability to go back and be a fly on the wall in our own brain, navigate our own system, go inside, and then we understand everything.
Yes.
Everything makes sense. All the weird behaviors, all the laziness, all the things, the sabotaging.
And the beautiful part.
Hey there. Thanks for watching. This is Katie Marietta Tondon with Lit Up. And the interview that you are watching, it's not over yet, so keep on watching. There's a lot more gems coming in the second part. But I just wanted to take this opportunity to invite you to the free community that we have available. The details will be in the description on how you can join. But essentially, we're building a community for spiritual seekers and light worker practitioners who need to go through this thing together. We need to explain what's going on. Sometimes things that we're experiencing we can't really discuss with other people who don't understand fully. And we're creating a welcoming and open space to get it all out. And also, if there are any gifts or intuitive abilities that you want to work on practicing, you can do it in this space as well. So consider joining the Lit Up community and look at the description for the details there. Thanks again for watching, and let's get back to it.
The beautiful part, because I've done IFS to some degree, not as much as you, but the beautiful part of it is once you tap into those original memories, if you have a good practitioner helping you or guiding you, you can learn to give yourself compassion for all of those times where you were in shame about overeating or whatever it is, alcohol addiction or,
the
whatever.
Inner critic, the anger part, all of it.
But if you really get to that root cause and you see that scenario playing out in your mind, you're like, oh, well, then I have nothing to be shamed about because, this is just something that happened. And you can have compassion for yourself and also the other person, if there was another person that kind of impacted you.
And then something like the concept of forgiveness. Forgiveness is simply just recognition. And when we try to forgive a person who has wronged us, that's not the route to take. Forgiveness is a natural wellspring of recognizing what I've seen in myself exist in another person.
Yes.
So that person who hurt me, forgiving becomes natural when I realize if I were a fly on the wall in that person's brain, I'd know everything.
Yeah.
I'd know why they did what they did. I'd
exactly.
understand. And the whole theory in IFS is there's no bad people. There's no bad parts. There are parts that are in bad roles. And once we unburden those roles, now there does need to be I've hurt people in my life. I need to go and ask forgiveness for those people. I need to say, listen, this is what was going on with me, and I'm so sorry I hurt you. Right? So it doesn't release us from accountability or responsibility to act towards other people in a loving way. But every time somebody doesn't act in a loving way, I guarantee you if that person would go get help for that, they'd understand why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, and also being on this side of it, I'm sure you're able to, I'm sure maybe you still get triggered by certain things, but you're probably more aware of like, well, the reason they're doing this is because of something that happened in their life that,
and
caused
it doesn't
them
mean
to...
I don't have a boundary. It doesn't mean I excuse a behavior. I can have a lot of compassion. Doesn't mean rolling over and saying it's okay.
That's right.
Compassion can be fierce. Compassion can say no. And compassion for you and for me.
Right.
And so if there's someone crossing a boundary that's coming into my territory, then I can say no.
Right.
And I can be kind all day long while I say no.
Right. And then you also are not harboring any thing that's going to stick with you later because you're like, I'm good. I'm good with where they are, and I'm just moving on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the sacred travel component because this was the first time I had really heard of anything like this. In talking to you, and I know
I'm pretty
travel.
Sure I invented it. No.
Probably.
I did not invent
Trademark. Because travel is so life changing, and not just in the perspective change and shift, and seeing different cultures, but just something inside changes.
In the brain, the same thing that happens when you take a psychedelic journey, minus the hallucinations, happens in the brain when you travel to a place you're unfamiliar with. So psychedelics work, most of them, by kind of shutting down this default mode network. Our default mode network are just the automatic neural pathways that we get into. It's part of the reason why you can drive and not remember, where you go.
Yeah.
And so we have probably thousands, hundreds, millions, I don't know how many neural pathways that are just automatic. This is our conscious mind and our subconscious mind working in the background going, choom, 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 stimulus, repeat, stimulus, repeat, stimulus, repeat. And so when you travel to a new place, or if you travel with psychedelics, there's some mechanisms in the medicine that is shutting down certain parts of the brain and allowing other parts to talk. And so a lot of the shutdown sometimes happens in our fear centers, so we're able to look at, depending on the medicine, but you're able to look at a situation without that triggered response, rework it, and then when you come out of that situation, it no longer has that effect on us. Now there's integration there, which means you got to plow the new pathway.
Right.
So that's not a fix-all. But when you travel, if you think about it, you can't rely on your default anymore. The language is different. The setting is different. Every building looks magical. So you're kind of in this state of awe and in this state of just everything being new. And the longer you stay in a place, you'll start to notice that after a little while, the newness wears off. You start feeling a little homesick, But so just traveling in and of itself has that potential. Now, another thing that happens when we travel is, if you do it a certain way, is that you open yourself up to synchronicities. And so if you were to, and travel planning, it depends on the person. If a person wants me to plan a trip for them and they want to experience some awe in nature and things like that, great, I can plan an itinerary. But I always try to build in at least a little bit of time, how much they're comfortable with, of unplanned, where they can just follow where their heart will take them. Now, I would say the best trips I've ever been on are the ones where I plan a ticket in and that's it. And I find maybe a hotel for the first couple of nights. And we're actually, me and my wife are taking her daughter to Spain for 3 months. We have a ticket in to Malaga, and we don't have a place yet, and we don't know how long we're gonna be there for 3 months.
My control.
Oh yeah,
is like.
So for someone like you, I'd build in a day.
I just need to do more IFS work to be able to.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But once you start traveling this way, there's something crazy in the mind that tells you, I got to have it all planned out. And if you're caveat to this, if you're traveling this way and you're stressing about where you're going to go, the synchronicities aren't going to show.
That's right.
It's not going to flow.
No.
And so me and my wife learned this on a road trip that we took to California. We were supposed to just go for 10 days, and we flew into Denver, and then we drove into Taos, and then we drove into Sedona, and we just weren't ready to come back. And we had somebody that happened to be moving in between places. She rented out our place for a couple more weeks, and we said, well, we actually can do this. So we just looked at the road and said, which way are we going? And we went left to California, because we could have gone Grand Canyon back to Colorado. So we went to California. And for 3 more weeks, we stayed for a week in San Clemente. And a friend of Glenda's had a place that was empty and let us stay in it.
Nice.
And then we just felt like it's time to move on. And we were like, okay, which way do we go? We go left. And we kept going up the coast. And little by little, and every time we would get stressed about where we were going to stay or what we were going to do, we'd distract ourselves. And we'd say, you know what, let's go eat lunch. Let's put away the phone and not think about it. And every single time when we open that space, distract ourselves enough to find something cool to go eat or coffee to drink, something pops up. Every single time. We did it for an entire month with a person in a wheelchair this year, which is why we're going back to Spain. So travel, when it's purposeful and when it's intentional, again, any path to healing works. I could sit here with somebody who's done EMDR, IFS, CBT, whatever it is. When you set the intention of healing, you'll get there.
Yeah.
Sometimes a little slower. I took the slower route for a few years, and I found some ways that maybe a little more efficient in my system. But every single step you take, when that's the intention, you get what you intend. And so travel's the same way.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I would encourage anybody to just try it once. Take a weekend trip and don't plan anything. Just start driving, see where you go, see where you land.
I think I'm going to have to try this.
Yeah.
This would really push me outside of my comfort zone, for
and
sure.
And then you talk to people, right?
Yeah.
You go to, we'll plan a hotel for the first maybe week in Malaga, and then we'll talk to the people.
Yes.
We'll find,
and that's going to lead you to
an apartment for 3 months.
This is very interesting. I'm kind of thinking of it in terms of starting my business. I've been working on this thing for a little over a year now, and it's been very much like that. It's just one foot in front of the the other, the opportunities will open up. You just have to be open and receptive to them and keep in alignment with what your intentions are, and then the steps will find you. So
and
it's kind of similar.
A wrong path, it's not a wrong path.
Right.
It's maybe a little diversion,
maybe a learning
important.
opportunity or Well, that's really cool. Okay. So you and Glenda work as a duo. How does that partnership model ripple into community level healing, would you say?
Honestly, the people that we've worked with are in our community. So we have very few clients we've worked with that are just
off the streets.
Yeah, I can't think of one.
Actually.
Hello. Yeah, I can't think of one. It's always been somebody's friend, somebody's that we've
word of mouth.
Yeah, word of mouth. And it's we actually don't see it as work. Interestingly enough, because sometimes there's an energy exchange, sometimes there's not. So this just feels more like a way to live. Helping others heal from what we've healed feels like a way to live. And we've been fortunate enough to be provided for. Like, when it gets tight, things come. So it's kind of like that travel thing. We're just kind of holding our hands up and going, we're really trying to do good in the world. And every single time it works out. I love it. And it's been tight and scary sometimes, but then it's also been. And
then do you find yourself like having to get into the trust and the surrender to whatever?
All the time.
Because when it's tight and when things are hard, that's when.
Now it's becoming exciting.
Yeah. Okay.
Now I have such a.
Now it's like a challenge.
I've built a pathway to go. Okay. Now this is another opportunity. This is another. It took me a while to get there. I stayed up a lot at night. Because I had this career as a behavior scientist, making a certain amount of money, and then even after going into naturopathy, I was working in startups. I was building my career. And to kind of to take a halt for a few years, it was scary, and I had many nights going, retirement, oh my gosh, what am I going to do?
Right. And did I make a mistake?
And the more I do this, the more I get comfortable with the idea of it's going to work out. And it's not passive. It's not like everything's going to work out. I'm just going to go numb out on the couch.
Do you attribute it to God, source, universe? What's your take in that
nothing's
area?
Outside of source. So anything that happens, anything that comes our way, it's all connected. We're not separate from source. I don't believe that. I believe that everything is truly deeply interconnected in concentric systems. So I'm an individual. My body is made up of concentric systems of cells, of organs, we are a species of humans. We are a global planet of creation. There's a universe, and then beyond that, I don't know. But I know that's how it works. A concentric system. So we're never outside of the system that we're a part of, including source creator.
And then it also goes back to what we said a few minutes ago about things that happen for our learning. Again, things are happening for us, even when in the moment it is very difficult, challenging, and we're like, are we on the right path? It's still for our good.
And for there's purpose in everything. And I can say that having had some pretty serious trauma in my life. Coming on the other end of healing that trauma from PTSD to post-traumatic growth syndrome now, I can see a larger purpose of why even suffering is built into the design. Because it wasn't an accident. It's built in. Look at nature. It's built into the design. There's reason for that, and we could go very deep and philosophical on that, but I truly believe that. And it doesn't mean that I'm bypassing any of the hard feelings. I experience grief in a deep, guttural, visceral level. Often. I experience terror, sadness, fear. I no longer repress those. I think the resistance to feeling those was the real suffering in my life. So I accept them. I feel them. I grit my teeth, I cry, I bang my chest, I
do the somatics.
Exactly, I let myself feel that. So when I say there's purpose in everything, you can't bypass your own hell realms. And I think there is in spiritual communities, there tends to be a lot of bypassing. A lot of depth of trauma right here in our guts, and then going, everything works out for the good. And those lofty, we call them, either Christianese or Buddhanese or whatever sayings that are stitched on a pillow that are not, and I think the real work is having the bravery to turn around and go inside of ourselves and feel those things.
Yes.
And they're
super brave.
They're hell realms in our own system of things that are really tough.
Right. Really tough. And it's like really tough to know that it's you that has to, first of all, the one that's, the source of the difficulty, but then also the one who's going to have to get yourself through it in whatever way. Because as you know, sometimes you go through one system and it doesn't work. And then you go to another system and it doesn't work. And it's like, okay, but I've got to figure this out because things will rise to the surface when you start to do this work. And once they rise, it's really hard to push them back down.
Oh, yeah. I got to a point where I couldn't.
Yeah.
And that's when it felt like I was dying.
Yeah.
When I got to the point that the suppression mechanisms no longer worked, it was Pandora's box was open. And it was rough. Yeah. It was, and I think that's partly why I do this work too, is that I didn't really have anyone to hold my hand and tell me, me and Glenda were going through this and we were exiled out of our community that we were in. We were sometimes, had dissension with our families. It was a really tough go of it. And when I say we were hacking through the wilderness in a machete, with a machete, that's really what it felt like. And I probably
need to add that we are in the Deep South. And so that has a lot to do with, that situational experience that you had.
For sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so where do you see plant medicine communities evolving in the next 5 years? And how can lit up practitioners lead responsibly?
That's a great idea. Where I hope it goes in the next 5 years. Because, again, the secret sauce is not the medicine. They're the catalyst. And I've seen many plant medicine communities using abusive techniques, non-supportive containers. When we recognize that, there might be a person out there that doesn't have trauma, I just haven't met them yet. And I'm open to somebody calling me and me doing a deep dive with them and saying, oh, okay, you don't have any trauma. I just don't think it exists.
Right.
So knowing that this needs to be a supportive container. It's no secret that for thousands of years we have suppressed the feminine. And suppressing the feminine takes away the nurturance. So we have a lot of these, and when I say feminine, I don't mean boy, girl.
Right.
I mean, we all have
the nurturing and creativity
essence inside of us. People who identify as female generally have a higher feminine essence, but it doesn't mean that there should be a balance of both of those essences in all of us. But when it's used for profit, I'll give you an example. I had a friend who was doing ketamine treatments, and she would go in a room of 16 people, and she'd receive her infusion, and no support whatsoever. Maybe she'd go talk to her psychologist,
a limited time,
who wasn't trained, so they'd be in there for 2 hours in a partition, and it's a cash cow.
And then pull the plug.
And at one of those sessions, there was a guy next to her who screamed at the top of his lungs, and it was great for him because he was having a release. But for her, it was traumatic.
Right.
So you have these, anytime it's medicalized and there's profit involved. Now, it doesn't mean people can't make money, right? But when we're looking at it being a profit mechanism, the main motivator behind it is profit. We really start seeing unsupportive containers group things that people need direct support. You also see that only the wealthy can afford it. So I've seen a lot of plant medicine circles where it's $10,000 to have a journey with a guide for one day and no preparation and integration. And is it worth it? Yeah. Is it accessible for anyone except for, no. And so the model I really like is sliding scales that are trauma informed, using a really supportive container. And the way I tell people about it, because some people will say, listen, I want to do a journey, they want a quick fix. And just to scare people, I'm like, you need to plan for a year before you even have your journey. And a lot of people will go, whoa, I was expecting to do this tomorrow. And I'm like, no, you imagine this is a baby. Imagine you're having a baby. You need at least 9 to 10 months to gestate this baby. You birth, and then for a lifetime, you're integrating this experience of how it's changed your life.
Right. And it can completely change your life. Like, I don't think people realize how impactful that can be.
Yeah. So what I would like to see is less of the medical model and more of the supportive, nurturing container to be brought in, and more females doing the work. I believe that, not that males can't, men are amazing. Like, there needs to be, we need to have, equal representation here, because each person is adding something in, but this is a nurturing medicine. The person who brought mushrooms to the rest of the world, Maria Sabina, was one of the most powerful healers in the world. And a guy went from the United States. He was a mycologist. He visited Maria Sabina. He had this wonderful experience. He started bringing people back. She ended up destitute, without a home, because it was so many hippies at the time were coming and having journeys and finding the mushrooms, and it became this profit mechanism where people were bringing people over. And she barely even charged people. She was the local healer of the town, and she ended up cast out of the village because of the craziness that it created.
Wow.
So we're using this colonialistic style to extract medicine from the earth. And I haven't seen it go well when we do that. So,
wow. Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll have to talk more offline about how I can direct that in some way with
as
regard
far as
to
lit up practitioners. I would say, just if someone's interested in doing a journey like this, make sure there's been formal training. Make sure that there is a very supportive container that is trauma informed. You're going into the deepest parts of your psyche.
And the prep work.
Lots of prep work.
Yes.
I mean, again, I would say if there are centers out there that say 2 integration sessions, 2 preparation sessions. That's it. And like, maybe that works if you have a lot of support outside of that. But we need more supportive containers, longer supportive containers. Yeah. Because you can have a journey every 3 months and really knock out some things and kind of put your system in a psyche crisis and heal that way.
Oh, wow.
Or you can do the preparation for a good year of getting into your psyche, getting used to navigating your own psyche, do a journey, and then integrate that for 5 years. And then you have a more well-rounded, it's not
more gentle
medicine that is the key, it's the psyche. The medicine just unlocks.
Right. Love it. Okay. For listeners without access to retreats, because we talked about the cost usually involved with that, or even people who may just be averse to traveling to do a retreat, what at-home practices mirror the integration phase and keep growth alive?
So let's say you're saying they do this on their own. I would not recommend doing it on your own.
Okay.
I would say...
And I mean, they could maybe just have somebody, a sitter, somebody with them.
Yeah, absolutely. But
nothing much more than that.
The container needs to be really supportive. So even if they're having a sitter, they need to know that person has been trained. And there are places where it's decriminalized. There's some cities in Michigan. I believe there's some cities in Georgia that have decriminalized this. So you're seeing more sitters kind of popping up. And I would say have maybe an IFS practitioner on board for your prep, somebody you can come back to and be face-to-face with, whether it's a coach or a psychologist or somebody that you can on a regular basis make the time to sit with and heal, and it's almost like doing a journey like this or a travel is almost like a dream. There's so much symbology. There's so many things to mine out that you can spend. I still have, from my very first experience, I just realized something 2 weeks ago. I'm like,
oh wow,
that's what that was. This was 5 years ago. I would say to use a lot of caution and get advice. These are powerful medicines, and if someone can't afford doing it legally, I would say maybe save for a year and do it legally, right? Because if you think about it, you do it illegally, you're putting your nervous system in a little bit of a risk.
And then you're also impacting the other person So it's not that it can't be done. It can obviously be done.
Right. But I've learned to use a lot more caution with these medicines, and to know that mushroom is not the only way to do it. The legal ketamine
and
is an amazing option for
and
people.
if we could talk about that a little bit too, I've reached these levels just through meditation.
Absolutely.
I've never taken
There
the
you go.
journey, so
Yeah.
it can be done without
Yeah.
actually.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think like what you said, it's about finding your core. How did you put it again? Like it's about your psyche and about your internal introspection and all of that, more so than the medicine.
Yeah, and the tools kind of come and find us when we need them.
Yeah.
There's this like saying, when the student's ready, the teacher appears.
Yes.
I think it's like that. Because it was just
can
the
agree.
way that we found these
Yeah.
medicines in the first place was just bizarre. And, this like thing that called to us. You know, I'm doing a breathwork practitioner right now. It called to us. It came my way. When my body was ready for this kind of work, it found me.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of trust. It's hard.
And that's how it was for me as well. Like my first kind of entry into expanded states of consciousness was via a shaman. And growing up in the Deep South, raised as a Baptist, I mean, I thought shamanism was definitely not for me. I just thought it was something out there, but something called to me and I just had to explore it. And I was like, this guy he's like, I could tell his integrity and authenticity, and like, I just felt some kind of draw to it. And so it definitely is when the person is ready, the teacher will appear.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's get into lightning round.
Yeah,
so a couple of fun things. Okay, talk about a transformational book that's always in your carry-on, or something that you've really enjoyed reading.
Well, too, The Alchemist.
Yes.
I've read it probably 20 times.
Okay.
And it's something new every time.
Okay.
Especially for travel. Traveling while reading The Alchemist, I've done it 3 times.
Ooh.
And it's just...
It opens up more.
Something. There's something about it. It's very powerful. And it's each phase of my healing journey, it's meant something else to me.
Ooh, kind of like the Bible.
So,
like when you open the Bible, it speaks to you differently.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
And then... recently, I've been reading a book that's really been gelling with me called Belonging. And I think for the time that we're in, for the things that ail us, it's a beautiful, beautiful book.
Belonging. Okay, so I'll put these two in the description so that readers can, or listeners can find it. Very cool. All right, so I'm going to have you finish this sentence.
Okay.
Real healing feels like blank.
Being in my own body, at ease in my own human experience.
And it just makes me want to do this right now.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, yes, that's real healing, is when you're like just centered, grounded, safe, secure.
Yeah.
Yeah. The most beautiful feeling in the world.
It is. Absolutely.
And it's worth all of the steps to get there.
Yeah.
All right.
And it's what I used to go on this journey thinking I would arrive somewhere, and I've not arrived. There's, like, my breathwork coach was telling me today that like even our muscles, like, we can keep reaching into infinity. Like our arm might not go physically that way, but like there's no cap to our healing. There's no place we arrive to.
Right.
There are deeper levels of opening, and it never ends. Ever.
It's our lifelong journey.
Like,
and
there's no end to flourishing. There's no... I think I thought, like, there would be this cap on the joy I could experience.
For sure.
I haven't found it. There's times that I go, holy crap, I didn't really realize I would have more joy than I did.
Yeah.
And it just keeps exponentially growing.
Yes.
So I would say healing feels like that too. It feels like this continual expansion.
Yeah.
And also impulsion. It's like it goes both ways. It's like I'm getting deeper into myself while also expanding at the same time.
Yes. I love that. Yeah. It's so beautiful. Okay, so if anybody wants to find you, do you have a website, or do you have any way that they could?
Yeah. Okay. It's myprism.org. But I don't know. I don't do a lot through the website.
Okay.
So, yeah, but I can put my contact information out
For
there.
sure.
And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
People find me when they need to.
That's it. Word of mouth. Okay. Well, the word of mouth is getting a little bit wider now. So, okay. All right. So if you are hungry for a deeper dive, join Jenny, Glenda, and me at litup.world. We've got a free community that you can join. And thank you for watching.